Welcome back, fellas. This is my first video of the new year, and I would just like to wish you all a happy and prosperous new year. If it was a good year for you, great. Hope this one is the same. But if you're like myself, where a lot of things went wrong, more than things went right last year, what can you do but keep trying? That's my New Year's resolution for 2026. Here's hoping for better luck for all of us this year. Now let's move on to this video's topic, a mech analysis on the Pharact Gundam. From Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Now it should be noted, as a longtime fan of the franchise, I despise this series due to its lazy, bland, and pandering story which was filled with all sorts of logic gaps and uninteresting characters, with absolutely nothing of substance to be seen complementing its stylish and clean animation. If you haven't seen it yet, please check out my review of this series. But with that said, I do like some of the mecha featured in the series. The Pharact Gundam is one of them. Now, the Pharact was developed secretly by one of the big three corporations of the Benerit Group, Pale Technologies, after the unjust slaughter of the research asteroid owned by the Ox Earth Corporation, which held the patent for the Gundam system, which is the distinguishing feature of a Gundam from other mobile suits in this series, and the subsequent banning of Gundam mobile suits as a whole due to unethical issues surrounding the Gundam system's use. The system's engineers and researchers who survived the massacre were seen as criminals and thus went into hiding, while surely not the only one. Pale Technologies sheltered one of those researchers that escaped the slaughter and enlisted her services to develop a Gundam-type mobile suit for them. As Pale Technologies' leadership recognized the massive profits to be made with such machines, since the battle power of Gundam-type mobile suits were head and shoulders above any other conventional mobile suit, even including their detrimental risk to the pilots, where Pale Technologies had their own project to address that problem of pilot frailty running in tandem with the Pharact's development, this being the Enhanced Human Project. The research and development had most likely been slow, since Pale Technologies needed to be mindful of certain watchdog agencies like Dominicus and Cathedra, which would take military action against anyone breaking the law, by researching and developing Gundams. But by the time the events of the anime started, some 21 years after the Ox Earth Resource Satellite Massacre, the Pharact had been completed, where the Pale Technologies directors took an interest in the Gundam Ariel and decided to mobilize the Pharact with its enhanced human pilot, Elan series, to attempt to acquire it via the dueling system established in the Academy, while also simultaneously testing the Pharact. But unfortunately, the advanced capabilities of the Pharact, while impressive and not lacking in any way, as seen when it fought against Gwelja Turk in a prior duel, couldn't stand up to the unholy level of plot armor the series' protagonist. Suletta Mercury had, by way of the MacGuffin known as Ariel and its resident ghost, Ari, the Pharact, being utterly wrecked in the duel, and almost slated for disposal by the Pale Technologies leadership in some strange attempt at playing the victim for developing the Gundam, which went against the established laws of the group, during that silly gala event, only for the machine and its associated technologies to be bought by the startup company headed by the other co-lead in the series, Mio Renee Rembrandt. One question: how could they play the victim when they willingly and knowingly developed the thing? It's like getting caught red-handed developing a nuke. Saying sorry, then saying you'll pay the fines and be let off afterwards with no further repercussions, don't you guys think? Also, what was their next move when the Pharact would have been sold on the open market after its product release? They clearly developed the machine to be sold as a company product line, right? Were they going to assassinate the current chairman and change the rules regarding Gundams? Stage a coup with some other like-minded company heads? Unfortunately, we'll never know. This series was just absolute trash. In any case, you don't see the Pharact after that outside of three other very short instances. The first one being when it was almost stolen by the Earth Gundam pilots. The second being when it participated in the Academy competition, and the last time being when it was used in that retarded light show as part of some BS phenomenon that managed to stop a colony laser cannon array from firing at them. As an extension of Suleta's and Ariel's plot armor, after which the machine disintegrated into particles. Wow, just recalling all of that BS actually reminded me of how much I loathe the series. In any case, on to the tech specs now, which is my favorite part of this video. So, the Pharact is built around the same structural frame as other machines manufactured from Pale Technologies, which gives it a distinct appearance from other Gundams. The frame emphasizes high speed and flight capabilities, while looking slightly skeletal. This actually works into its design concept, since less armor means less weight. It relies heavily on its high thrust to mass ratio afforded to it because of this frame setup and complemented by its propulsion network mounted on its shoulders called the Blast Booster, as well as the skills of its pilot to maneuver it out of enemy lines of fire, as well as dodging incoming fire. So, it does demand some skill in its handling, but while classified as a high-speed, high-mobility unit. It also can be customized for certain combat styles, giving it a decent degree of versatility. For example, the first Elan look-alike was more of a long-ranged fighter, and so to facilitate his preferred style of combat. The Pharact can be equipped with a custom, high-energy beam rifle called the Beam Arquebus, a long-barreled rifle with accuracy and stability in mind. While the second Elan clone was an ambidextrous mid-ranged fighter. So, another optional main armament was the Beam Caliver, a pair of pistol-shaped beam rifles that could be used in close range and mid-range, but could also be fired from the hard points on the hips where the Pharact stored them. They also have wireless, limited autonomous movement due to an integrated thruster array, and could also be combined to form a more destructive high-energy particle beam cannon. These are the two optional main armaments. It was also mentioned that the Pharact could use both options simultaneously, but this was never seen in the anime. With that said, while it is less armored than other series of mobile suits used in the anime, it is heavily armed even without either of its optional armaments, since a majority of its weapons are integrated into the frame itself. On its feet houses a pair of beam cannons, and each of its forearms houses a beam saber, as well as the small caliber beam Vulcans on its head. So it can still do tons of damage even if it lost its main weapon, especially with its high speed and maneuverability. Now onto the final weapon found on the Pharact. The Pharact, like all Gundams, uses the Gundam format in its operation. As a result, it is outfitted with a swarm weapon system, the Cororax bits. A swarm weapon that can generate a short range, focused EMP when two bits are lined up, which temporarily disables a localized area of an enemy machine. It also looks like they could be used to generate a force field around the Pharact for increased defense. As for capacity, the Pharact houses between 16 and 20 Cororax bits at a time, but this is essentially everything about the Pharact known from the series and other supplemental sources. So now onto my personal analysis. Overall, it's a well-balanced machine with a good mix of weapons for long and close-range combat taken into consideration, as well as having a decent degree of versatility with regards to certain combat styles pilots would employ. But if there was one questionable thing about its loadout, it would be the capabilities of its swarm weapon system. The Cororax bits, as stated earlier, it's a swarm weapon that can generate a short range, focused EMP when two bits are lined up, which temporarily disables a localized area of an enemy machine, and an entire machine could be incapacitated if all of the Cororax bits are aligned properly. In a way, this version of swarm weapon could be considered ideal for the dueling system the Academy is employing. but in actual battlefields. This function is very circumstantial, such as capturing high priority targets out in actual combat conditions for interrogation or something. But other than that, the Corax are probably the weakest type of swarm weapon. It's especially so when considering that one of the main uses of these types of weapons is to boost enemy elimination rates. In other words, to eliminate enemies as fast as possible. This is especially important when you consider the dangers of the Gundam system the longer it's used. But the Corax bits don't do that outside of probably getting too aligned at the cockpit in the chest of an enemy mobile suit to disable it and letting the main machine make the finishing blow. And there is another problem with the Corax bits. You need to dedicate 2 of the bits to use this feature. Where swarm weapons used by other Gundams could one-shot an enemy almost instantly. To be honest, this disabling feature should have been a sub-feature, and there should have at least been a small beam gun installed on them or something. So final thoughts, I really like the Pharact Gundam's design. It has a very cool armored core style to it. And I could have seen this thing becoming a main antagonist Gundam, or an anti-hero type Gundam, if it was used in a different series. But unfortunately, it was used in this dumpster fire of a show. Well, if anything, the Pharact definitely boosted model kit sales for this horrid series. I'll end the video here. Once again, best of luck for the coming year. Till next time, bye.